Hey guys, welcome back to the Gedunk Show. Me and my co-host Bobby Jones. Here we are. We're ready to talk about a lot of stuff happening. I'm pretty excited about the election last night, and I know Bobby is as well. But let's kick it off with some sports. The New England Patriots, led by Drake May, played the Atlanta Falcons in Foxborough, and it was an ugly game. I got to be honest, Bobby. What are your thoughts?
The Falcons falconed. That's what they do. We find a way to get you hooked emotionally, and then find a new innovative way to lose. And that's basically what happened. Extra point missed by our kicker. The kicker, of course, has since been cut. We have a new kicker. The difference between though going, you know, 4-4, Vice now 3-5, and now having to go overseas to Germany and playing one of the teams that has one of the best records in the league, in the Colts. I just don't know where we go from there. So
Wasn't there some scuttlebutt at one point about like having an NFL team in Europe somewhere?
yes, still is. So this is one of the reasons why you're getting these games overseas. The NFL realizes that their expansion market is Europe. So obviously London would get one of the teams. The question is, if they did expand to Europe, they have to do at least two. Yeah. 32 teams in the league, you would go to 34, maybe 36. The model I've seen has been four teams in Europe, where you create an entire division in Europe. And so what would happen is a team would go and play all four of their games all back to back, just be in Europe for like a month, adjust to the time, this, that, and the other, have a bye week before they go, and then a bye week when they get back. And it cuts down on the travel that other teams have. And then the European teams would basically take, two big road trips. I think that's what it was. Two big road trips during the season or whatever, and do it that way. It's a way to do it. And so you're looking at London, Berlin, and then the other two locations are the ones that's up for debate: Paris, Madrid. But it'd be a whole European division, and that gets you from 32 teams to 36 teams. And so now you have six divisions of six or something like that, however they want to break it up. But yeah.
I mean, is the market big enough over there? I know they sell out the
That,
games, but it
yeah.
seems like is that just a curiosity kind of thing?
No, because think about it. The primary team that plays overseas, every year there's one team that plays two games over there, and that's the Jaguars. Historically speaking, the Jags are terrible, historically speaking, but they sell out. That's the litmus test. When they sent, for example, the Chiefs, was it the Chiefs that went down to Brazil to start the season? Massive following. Was Chiefs Chargers, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. But those teams, they have loyal fan bases now, international fan bases. And so the NFL's whole vision is to do what the Premier League has done, and Serie A and La Liga and Bundesliga in Europe, where they have fan bases all over the world. As a matter of fact, each NFL team has been assigned a country. And so the Falcons, for some crazy reason, have Germany. That's their country that they have to develop relations with, which is why they're playing the Colts in Berlin Sunday.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a great business model.
Well, that the Pats are what are we now? 6-2, 7-2, and we've had the easiest schedule in the NFL by far. I think we've played, maybe Pittsburgh is the only team with a winning record that we've played so far. But we got to play the Bucks this week, and that'll be a decent test to see if all this is real. And it's in Florida too, so yeah, I'm not expecting the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl or anything. But hey, if they get a game in January, I'll watch. It'll be fun. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, must be nice.
My goodness. Well, moving on to, let's put a smile on your face. What happened last night, Bobby?
The elections, people, the elections. So how do I put this? From a political scientist standpoint, that's what I majored in school and have followed religiously. This is what you call a good old fashioned butt whooping that the MAGA side of the house got. Trump has already tweeted, he wasn't on the ballot and the shutdown is wild. This happened. Well, first of all, number one, you're never ever going to be on the ballot again. So that's an irrelevant point. Secondly, yeah, the shutdown hurt. Well, right. Well, no, I mean, legally he won't be, but, and then the other piece of the government shutdown, Donald Trump himself tweeted out before he was president, if you control the White House, the House, and the Senate, there should never be a shutdown. That's on the president. Well, you control the House, the Senate, the freaking Supreme Court, really, and the White House. You have all three major levers and branches of government, and there is a shutdown that's about to hit a record. I don't know what to tell you, but the results that kind of stand out, the big ones everybody's talking about, one is significant, more significant than the other. New Jersey has historically been a blue state, right? But and you don't take it for granted. However, Virginia has been a swing state in a lot of respects for a while, and it's the margin of victory in New Jersey and Virginia that is speaking out. The margin of victory in New York, and everybody's like, well, it's a city. Yeah, but it's also the most populous city with the most diverse voting background. And you have the first Muslim ever elected in charge. And then in my home state in Georgia, in an election that does not seem like it would mean much to the big picture, but public safety, these are the guys that control your utility costs. And they were the only people on the ballot in the election in Georgia, basically, with the exception of smaller local races. But that was the largest one statewide, and 2 out of 3 went to the Democrats, which is shocking in an off year in a ballot that really doesn't sound sexy. That's a significant thing. And then when they looked at the voter breakdown, and this is what I looked at, in the middle of the state, we have this thing called the gnat line that kind of cuts it in half, but that is mostly very rural, very conservative. It went blue across the middle of the state. And I'm just like, oh, that is new. And this is partly because when you get to that part of the state, you're talking about farms. You're talking about the people, because Georgia is an agricultural state, despite Atlanta being in it. It's an agricultural state primarily. You're looking at the amount of money that has been lost by farmers in the state of Georgia, and the local politicians were actively backing Trump and his policies. This is a significant rebuke to that when you look at where this happened. Not just that it happened, it's the where, right? So those are the things that jumped out at me. You have J.D. Vance's half brother losing to a first generation American of Indian descent in Cincinnati. His half brother got his butt handed to him. Ohio is a swing state. Okay. Cincinnati, you got Vivek Ramaswamy and those guys trying to run for governor up there. This is also a major telling point. So your boy Steve Tarnacki was busy yesterday trying to decipher all these things. So,
well, Bobby, I think that's right. I mean, so New Jersey in 24, people were saying, "Oh, New Jersey's in play," and Trump overperformed there and did pretty well. But historically, it's been quite blue. Let's take them one at a time. I mean, New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill's now the governor-elect. She is a former Naval Academy grad, naval aviator. Full disclosure, was a friend of VFRL. And done some events with us back in the day.
Endorsed by us.
And is a good, solid, politician, right? Like she has been in service in one capacity or another, really her entire adult life. She flew helicopters in the Navy. She goes to law school. She works against torture, the U.S. torture policies of George Bush. She runs for Congress. She wins. She's in Congress. She steps down and runs for governor and now wins. And she's part of a cohort of Democratic politicians that I'm kind of excited about in a very boring way. These are people like Seth Moulton. These are people like Jason Crow, Mikey Sherrill, Abby Spanberger, who we'll get to in a second, have served in government service essentially their entire adult lives. Uh, Spanberger was a CIA analyst. Jason Crow was an Army Ranger, went from private to an officer. Seth Moulton was a Marine Corps officer with extensive combat experience in Nasiriyah, and and many others. And it's interesting to me to watch this kind of cohort of responsible, take governing seriously, cut their teeth in the wars of this country in the last 25 years, start to move into positions of real power. Seth is going to run for Senate this year, or next year rather. There's a lot going on. I view it as pretty overwhelmingly positive that we've got some people now who are moderate, kind of middle of the road Democrats who don't want to cut Social Security, don't want to cut Medicare, are not looking to chop off grandma's health insurance, and have real relevant national security experience. And I think it's a great thing for the state of New Jersey. And it really, I mean, there's a real chance that one of these NatSec Democrats will one day be president, or perhaps even more than one. We've got people who we served with in the Senate, in the House, in governors' mansions across the country, and I think that's terrific.
I do think it's good. I also will say this. I think it's also a spectrum from moderate to more. I wouldn't use the word extremes, but stronger views. So like when you look at New York City, Mamdani, he is much more to the left than say Cheryl is, or this, that, and the other. And I think what you're going to see is, number one, I think you need a spectrum of different leadership and what they believe in socially and all this other kind of stuff. But I think what you're going to see is people who will start voting more in not just their own self-interest like has happened before, but in community and society's best interest. Because I think the lesson that is being taken from the first 9-10 months of Trump has been, dude, if you vote in your own self-interest and don't give a damn about anybody else, it may still come back to bite you, right? So these cats.
Let's talk about Mamdani for a minute. So
yeah.
He's got a lot of policies. I mean, I guess he's got a lot of policies that likely wouldn't play well in other areas outside of New York City. I mean, his focus is affordability, right? Like that's
Right.
what the dude is all about. He wants to lower prices. There are certain public services he wants to essentially make free in the city of New York. And I'm always struck. I'd be curious your thought, man. I'm always struck by how differently I can feel about an issue literally based on where I physically am. Even if, if I'm in the Rockies, right, hiking in Rocky Mountain National Park or Glacier National Park or something like that, I kind of temporarily feel sort of more pro-gun, right? If I'm in downtown Manhattan, right? So I think having different views for different places is actually a good thing. I don't want Mamdani to run, like rural policy or something like that. But if New Yorkers want him over Cuomo, good for them. I mean, it's the party. Yeah. I don't have a problem per se with, these really pretty far left folks being in the party, even if I don't agree with them on every single issue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I think that's the mature way to go about it, because here's the other piece of this, right? You kind of hit on the head, and the way I look at it, environment helps create experiences, right? So the environment that you live, the environment that you grow up, all that stuff, that connects to your lived experience. And so if you're in New York, and anybody who's been there, like I have here in the last month, affordability is a rightful issue to be hammering, because it is. We ridiculous the amount of cost it takes to live there. It's absolutely insane. That also being said, there are things that, you say the rest of the country may not be all about, but here's the thing, and here's the kicker. If he's able to accomplish everything he says in New York, the rest of the country will notice. The rest of the country will watch. And then they'll be like, how do we implement some of that here? Because the portability is a nationwide issue. I would say it's a nationwide crisis, which is why we saw the results that we saw. Like I said, Georgia Public Safety, they set up the amount of money you pay on your utilities in the state next door to Alabama. When Biden's subsidies ran out, the utility bills not only went through the roof in the state of Alabama, but they were owed back pay. They had to pay back bills from the past, which people are like, oh my God, I cannot believe this, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is what you voted for. These things that are happening, the shutdown, the reason the Democrats won't budge is because they know next year healthcare will go through the roof if they don't do something. That may have seemed like an extreme view a year ago. But here we are now, and you look at the polling data, the American people completely understand why the Democrats are not coming to the negotiation table, because they're already getting the previews of their premiums going through the roof, right? And so it may seem extreme at one point, or it may seem like it's more linked to a certain location. However, there are certain universal truths here that we're looking at that are coming to the forefront because of the extremeness of the policies of the administration that's already in power. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think I'd be curious, and I haven't seen this yet, folks, but I'd be real curious, sort of the breakdown, the exit polling as to which groups that had been kind of breaking for Trump and MAGA, even as recently as 24 last year, like who is kind of coming back. New Jersey's got a sizable Hispanic population, for example, and I wonder if some of that has reversed or kind of reverted to the mean a little bit, because these were not close elections. I mean, we're talking Spanberger winning by what, 16, and then Mikey Sherrill winning by whatever. Mamdani's winning big. These are real serious blowouts here, and I'm curious how much of that is MAGA voters staying home versus a real shift in the electorate. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to kind of see what comes out over the next few days about these things. One area that is interesting to me as well is, in Virginia, really feeling the effects of the shutdown probably more intensely than just about any other
Anybody
place in America.
else? Mhm.
Every people there work in the Pentagon, people there work in, DOE, pick a government agency, right? And people are working at it, and they're out of work, not collecting a paycheck. And it makes sense in those Northern Virginia suburbs, or even, mid Virginia suburbs, why people are not voting for Donald Trump after all that's gone on in the last 9 months. So
Yeah.
I think the shutdown. I think Trump is right in the sense that the shutdown affected the vote,
Yes.
but he created the shutdown. So it's like,
Well, exactly. Exactly. And the American people are blaming him for it. Like the polling that we
yeah,
see, 60%, over 60% are blaming him. And again, when you have a receipt for what you said, 10 years ago, I mean, come on, this is not hard. The other piece of this too, which I found interesting, he did a 60 minutes interview on Sunday before everybody went to the polls on Tuesday.
yep,
That thing
yep.
was chopped up, clipped, and circulated on social media. There are things like CBS's editing of it bites the whole hour and a half down to 20 minutes. I watched it. I see what people are saying. But if the man who wants to be the brand of the party said some things that made people pause, scratch their head, look around and say, what? And the fact that, when they asked Republicans about it, Mike Johnson and stuff, they claimed either ignorance or buffoonery. For example, freaking, what's his face? Mike, the guy that they pardoned, CZ, what's his face from China?
Oh, the
Who
crypto guy.
crypto billion,
Yeah,
yeah, crypto guy, right? The fact that Trump said he had no idea or knew nothing about it, and you're the person giving the pardon. You're the one going after Joe Biden for auto pen type things that you're saying are happening. You can't be serious. You
Crypto's
can't be
weird, dude.
serious.
Crypto's so fucking weird. Like, what do you think about crypto, man? I mean, just broadly,
I,
like, it seems so speculative to me.
it's
I'm
speculative.
sure we'll get some comments.
Yeah.
People are making real money on it, but it's not, SBF just created this made up exchange and, was at one point worth like $5 billion until he went to
Mm-hmm.
prison. And
Mm-hmm.
CZ was kind of involved in a lot of that,
Mm-hmm.
working not alongside SBF, but he was certainly a competitor and they had overlapping business interests. And yeah, I mean, but that's so Trump, right? To just pardon a crypto bro, like, I mean, because the guy's gonna get out and donate some Bitcoin or whatever it is to Trump's shady crypto scam that he's running out of the Oval Office, and he's buying his pardon, right? I mean, there was when Trump was on his way out of office. I don't know if you remember this. When Trump was on his way out of office last time, gosh, I was trying to find the source and put it in our show notes, but there's um uh, somebody called and they were like, how much is a pardon? And he was like, $1 million. It was like, or one of his kids said that, or something like that. And the guy's just selling pardons. I mean, his corruption knows no bounds whatsoever. And it's not the usual government corruption. Something like Kash Patel flying to his girlfriend's country music concert on a private jet. That's like typical government corruption. Yeah, I mean, like I wouldn't do it, you wouldn't do it, but it's like that's we've seen before. Charlie Wilson would have done some shit like that. But Trump is doing is orders of magnitude different. And he's going to come out of the presidency. However, whenever he comes out of the presidency, he's going to be a very, very, very rich man for doing things like setting up Qatari air bases in Idaho. And if that doesn't make you just vehemently enraged about him literally selling favors and secrets and all these other things to foreign nationals such as CZ, who is Chinese. He might be Taiwanese, but Chinese or Taiwanese. And the Qataris, the Saudis, all these shady foreign figures who are so broy with the White House. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I think what the American people are doing slowly but surely, because I'm tracking a lot of social media, they're slowly waking up to just how bad the corruption is. And I'm going to tell you, it's not the Epstein files that were a turning point because people were on that. I think a lot of it had to do with the White House and the demolition of the East Wing. I've never seen so many unified comments on that from both the right and the left when they saw the bulldozers tearing it down, because Trump went out of the way and said they're not going to tear down anything. But that's exactly what.
Explain your outrage. Okay, I'm not saying I would have made it. I think what Trump is making there is just kind of corny and kitsch, but I don't really care. I mean, I don't really care. Somebody knocks down a government building. Like I genuinely don't see the outrage. But explain it to me. Convince me.
Yeah, I'll explain it to you. So the White House basically has housed every president since John Adams, right? It got gutted to its core in 1948 because it literally was about to cave in on itself. One of the pianos on the third floor almost fell completely through the floor. And then they did an inspection. Truman and the family had to move to the mansion across the street while they gutted it. And they had to really reestablish the whole thing. And it was controversial at the time, but even Congress recognized, yeah, it's falling apart. And so there's the first issue. Any changes to that building up until this was vetted, signed off, funded by the United States Congress. This is the first time that a major alteration has been made to that building without any of those approval processes. And by the way, included in the approval process is the White House Historical Society, who makes it their business to make sure, hey, they preserve things that they can, that you don't destroy things that don't need to be destroyed, that could possibly be spared, etc. None of that, all private, all private. Then the other piece of it too was, who donated to it. It became a fealty test of the most wealthy people in America. That is the
So
other thing that outrageous.
that part I
Yes,
get, right? Like he's using private donations to fund his pet project,
yes,
which
yes.
is a little fucked up to say the
Well,
least.
and then let me finish. Why the design? Well, first of all, the White House was not designed to be a place where galas were hosted. In actuality, that is the U.S. Capitol building from its original intent and construction to be the grand showpiece for the United States, because that was supposed to be where the people got to see those type of people. That's why we don't have people lying state at the White House. We have them lying state at the Capitol building. You see what I'm saying? So there was actual intentionality that came together historically with this. There was an Irish architect that basically did all of the major renovations of the White House in its first 50 years of existence until he died, right? So there was a continuous thought process of expansion and creation. This completely bypasses all of that, right? But here's the last piece. It's what he's building. When you look at the size, the scope, and the gaudiness, he is deliberately trying to say, out of every person that has slept in this building, in this house, I am the most grand. I am the most important. I am the best, etc., etc. I don't know if you've seen pictures of the Oval Office recently, but it is gaudy. It is like,
No, dude, it looks like Vegas, right? It looks like
it,
Atlantic
it,
City.
it
It looks
looks
terrible.
so cheap and tawdry. And so this building, this wing that they're adding is going to be the culmination of that. And the final piece, he's going to name it the Trump Ballroom. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's the destruction
yeah.
of the
Like,
past without the authorization of the people that bothers me. And then when you look at what he's adding architecturally, it looks terrible, terrible,
yeah, man.
horrendous.
I get all that. I just don't care that much. Like, right? Like
Okay.
Hispanic people are getting like kidnapped.
I
By,
agree.
right? Like,
I agree.
like it seems to me like it's just a little distraction, right? Like he could say, "I'm putting myself on Mount Rushmore," right? And we're gonna
And
carve
you would
my
have a
face.
problem with it.
We're gonna get rid of Thomas Jefferson, and we're gonna put Trump up there,
And you would have a
and
problem with
we
that.
would leave it in for a couple months. And what is he doing in the meantime? He's rendering people to prisons in El Salvador
I,
or what have
I
you,
get
right?
it,
So
but
it,
I can
yeah, I'm
chew
like,
and walk. I can chew bubble gum and walk at the same time, right? So, like, if I'm a Democratic candidate for president,
I mean, you got so much press, bro. Like we always say that we can, have a cake and eat it too, or chew the bubble gum and walk at the same time. But then it was like all the headlines, right? And I guarantee Trump was doing way worse shit that week than knocking down the East Wing.
I
Um,
agree. However, if it didn't matter that much, why the hell has he done it this way to make sure it gets done? See, you can't have both ways. You can't sit there and say something does not matter, and then the man is going to spend $350 million or a government shutdown without getting any congressional approval, any White House historical approval. None of that. He purposely circumvented the process because it matters to him. So that being said, if I was a Democratic candidate for president, first thing I do is I come in January 20th. As a matter of fact, the bulldozers will be standing the hell by at the end of the inauguration to tear all that shit down and to restore it to its formal facade because it matters to him. Caroline Levitt said it's his number one priority while he's in the White House. Not the government shutdown, not the cost of living, not the pending war he's trying to have in Venezuela. None of that matters. The White House ballroom matters. Let that marinate, Dan. That's what they said. I didn't make I didn't make that up.
no, it's like, but it reminds me of like, you stay at like a Marriott and they have like the event space or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, I'm sure Mar-a-Lago has like some shitty ballroom with like fucking stains on the walls and carpet on the walls, and he threw up some gold plated urns or whatever it
Right.
is.
But that's what it represents though, Dan. So for example, the government shutdown's going on and what did they do? They threw that soiree down in Mar-a-Lago. The Great
Oh,
Gatsby.
that's right. They had the Great Gatsby party, man.
Come on, Dan. So when you ask why is it such a big deal, it is literally the crystallization of that mentality. That's what it is. You have people who do not have food stamps right now, and he
Sure.
throws that party. He throws that party. And if he had the ballroom, he would have threw that party with the scantily clad chicks and a freaking champagne bottles and glasses on White House property. Come
Hey,
on, man.
let him eat cake, man. Right? Like that's where that's kind of the Trump's attitude, and he's gonna pardon himself for like everything on the way out, right? So that there's no
But that's illegal, though. Most congressional
well,
scholars think that's illegal. Constitutional scholars think it's illegal. It's never been done before.
like
There's a reason, because every president before
well,
him thought it was
it's
illegal.
almost illegal if SCOTUS signs off on it, right? Like
Okay,
like he can
then, then,
sort of do whatever he wants.
then why didn't Richard Nixon do it on his way out? It had to be Gerald Ford to
Well,
pardon him.
I think Richard Nixon had more sense than Trump. I can't believe I'm saying that, but Richard Nixon,
Well, but that's the point. That is the
yeah,
point. He literally keeps doing stuff that's unprecedented, and he's testing every norm that we have as a nation. And Congress is MIA. The Republican Party that has a majority in Congress is MIA, and they think that's going to happen. Well, you saw last night. You're going to get your ass handed to you here next year. And here's the thing. I'm talking handed to you to the point where they will draw up articles of impeachment, and you may get 2/3 of the votes of U.S. senators by that point. If this continues, if the tariffs continue, if all these farmers continue to lose their farms, and J.D. Vance is buying them up with the company that he owns, right? And all of these machinations keep happening. You think what we just saw last night or something? Stand by, because it's going to be much
yeah.
worse.
I mean, I think the Democrats will get the House. We're not going to get the Senate. There's just, I mean, it's just too. Well, I mean, we could win Maine, we could win Iowa. It's going to be tough. Nebraska's, I mean, Osborne's running it as an I. I mean, he might
Right.
push off.
Which gives Osborne flexibility. And as bad as Nebraska, out of all the states hurting when it comes to this agricultural and tariff thing, it's Nebraska. And they are bankrupt as of last month, if I recall correctly, because they have a constitutional amendment. They are bankrupt.
In Iowa,
So
Iowa's the same. Right? Like Iowa, Jody
mhm.
Ernst is up for reelection.
She's not running. She pulled out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
it'd be tough, dude. It'd be really tough, I think. I think the Democratic brand, despite what happened last night, the
mhm.
Democratic brand is still historically low in popularity. And
I agree.
the
But
Republicans are just the Republicans are, MAGA, right?
mhm.
Trump and MAGA are just governing so shittily that
Right.
people are like, oh God, anything but this, right? Like that's
Well,
kind of
but the Democrats have a whole year. They have a whole year to get their collective shit together. The thing that I'm just blown away by is I think you're going to see more Republican defections. I really, really do. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think, is a tip of the iceberg. I think as things continue to go south and things continue to crash, I think people are going to be like, all right, I can't keep doing this. It's not about what the Democrats are saying. It's about, I cannot keep doing this. Dude, I was in Washington, D.C. last night, and I talked to 4 National Guard members who were just sitting there. And I'm like, dude, sucks to be y'all, man. Y'all are still here. I asked them where they're from. They're from West Virginia. I said, dude, your state needs you way more than that. Then you need to be here. And they all nodded and we were like, yeah, we know. We know. And I felt bad for them because they don't want to be there. They don't want to be there. They go up, they just stand around, look like dopes, may pick up some trash, this, that, and the other. And that's it. They know that they're
you know,
bumps.
Trump's already looking at sending troops to New York City now, right? Because he says
Yep.
Mondani's going to be turning into some socialist hellhole, and the next time someone gets stabbed on the E train, right? Like he's gonna send troops in, and
Right.
that's worth getting upset about. Not,
I agree.
um, but yeah, it'll be really interesting. It was a good day, I think, overall for the home team. I'm really curious. I'd love to talk next time we get together about some of the actual exit polling and what some of these trends are. Um, but Bobby, what's on your eye for sports this week coming up? What is your Georgia Bulldog? What are they doing?
Well, they have a relatively tough game, Mississippi State, and Starksville, Mississippi. Um, the game for me this weekend is the Navy Notre Dame game, primarily because, Navy lost their first game. However, if they beat Notre Dame in prime time, now we're really talking about, okay, they could actually run the table, win the conference, and go to the college football playoff. And to have a service academy at a playoff, in a playoff game, would pretty much shatter the entire model because the whole thing is about big money, transfers, blah, blah, blah. I watched the Navy football team practice yesterday in Annapolis. It's going to be a tough task. It's going to be a tough task to beat them. But here's the thing. You have about 27, 28 teams that are still technically in play for this playoff. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the next 3 weeks go. My Falcons, Atlanta Falcons professionally are going over to Germany. I'm going to go over there and watch them probably lose, but whatever. It's the experience. And then, finally, hockey and basketball are starting to heat up. It's cool to see the NBA on NBC. What did you say about Cooper?
He's not off to like a tear.
No,
He's had
no,
moments of. I keep reminding myself this kid is 18 years old, right? He is 18 years old. Did 1 year of college basketball, and getting 22 a game as a rookie in the NBA. Pretty exciting stuff. But hey, I got to ask you, man. Now that the number 1 and 2 teams in college football are Ohio State and Indiana. Would it be fair to say that the SEC is done?
no. I think what will happen is this. I think you're seeing, and I know this is kind of a setup, but I think you're seeing, um, you have the Big Ten usually has two great teams, maybe three, and then the rest are just like eh. In this case, it's now Indiana and Ohio State. Then you have right in that next tier Michigan, and then but the SEC is
Oregon,
such.
don't forget Oregon's in the Big
Oh yeah,
Ten.
in Oregon. So yeah, I would also say Oregon's in that top tier.
Iowa
Then
State,
Michigan.
Oregon,
Yeah.
USC. I mean, really,
Eh.
like the Big Ten is kind of the creme de la creme, I think. I mean, the SEC is a little. They're kind of like MAGA, don't you think? Like just
No, no, the SEC is a gauntlet, and that's the problem. When you actually play a game in the SEC, it's not at Vanderbilt's actually cooking. When you go on the road, it's an actual real hostile road game environment. It's different to go to LSU. And mind you, these guys fired their coach at LSU. I don't care. If I got to go to Baton Rouge on a Saturday night, I know it's going to be a slugfest. If I got to go to Kyle Field at College Station where Texas A&M is, and they got 112,000 people, it's a tough slog. And don't get me wrong,
dude,
Big Ten has their schools, but it's different. Say what?
A&M looks good.
Scary
I've
good.
seen. I mean, they're fast and huge, and I mean, they do some
Scary
really good
good.
things. Yeah,
Scary
they're
good.
good. I
But
think
think about it. The standard for the SEC is such that LSU has fired their coach, Florida State has fired their coach. Who else fired their coach in the SEC? Auburn has fired their coach.
wait,
These are perennial
before
big
you go, what's
names.
your opinion on these payouts?
I think college presidents are going to reset the market in the offseason. There's no damn way. There's no way, Dan, that when you fire a football coach, that you got to commit 30, 40, $50 million to get rid of them. And here's the thing, Jimmy Sexton, who is the super agent that had almost all the big name coaches, right? Like from Kirby to Dabble, Sweeney, he was Nick Saban's. He is the Alex Burrows in baseball, the guy in baseball, the super agent in baseball that drives salaries up. He's that in college football. Boris, yes, the Boris guy in baseball. There's going to be a reset. The difference between baseball and colleges are actual state institutions, state universities. You had the governor of Louisiana jump into the Louisiana State firing of Brian Kelly and how they're going to hire him because of all the money and how important it is to the state of Louisiana. Period. So I think these college presidents, to get power back, are going to have to step back, meet with one another, and be like, "Hey, here's the deal. We're not going to be doing these big time payouts anymore." And it's going to be interesting because I don't think the coaches are unionized. So they can't say collusion. They can't say this. They can't say that. This is intrastate commerce of millions of dollars. It's got to be regulated somehow, just like the kids.
Hey, speaking of baseball, man, did you catch the World Series?
Yeah. I watched like the last two games, which,
That was a hell of a series, man. That was honestly the best, probably the best series in the last, I don't know, 20 years, in my
yeah,
opinion.
definitely 20. It's not the best of my lifetime, but it's the best. It's top three.
It's up.
Um,
Yeah,
um,
it was really good baseball.
it's
Dodge.
so sad. It's so sad. I feel bad for the Blue Jays, man. They were up two
Yeah, and they're in
games. I mean, they were up a game. All they had to do was win one.
yeah, I know, man. And like they had that double play in the last
Yep.
the
Yep.
second
Game
to last
six.
game rather, that they got doubled up with runners on second and third. And then they had that one game that was 18 innings long. So it was like an 8 game series essentially.
Yep.
But it was good baseball. If you haven't
The
seen it, man,
loss.
there's some good sports on TV right now. So please
The,
tune in.
the
Well,
the Dodgers, in my opinion, are the best dynasty money can buy. What they're doing could possibly break the sport of baseball. Now everybody's like, yeah, but you just had a great World Series. Yeah, you did. But I think that's going to be the exception rather than the norm because what the Dodgers have done, and this is something, if I was another team, I'd sue the league about, they defer all these payments to these players. So Shohei Ohtani has a $700 million contract, or it's close to 800, and he's deferred almost all of it for 10 years. Why? Because he doesn't want to pay California taxes. And so he believes he'll be done playing by then, and then he'll be able to collect his money tax free. So basically, the Dodgers are buying this talent on credit, and no one's stopping them. And they're getting the best players. I just think it's crazy that that's a thing. I also think that at the end of the day, if you have a sports league like baseball with no salary cap, right? The competitive balance continues to just favor basically maybe 6, 7, 8 teams. The other, you know, 24 teams or whatever have no shot, no shot, no shot. And that's bad for the league, in my opinion. This is why football, the NFL is much better because you have a salary cap and parity is a real thing.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
real thing.
Well,
So,
hey, Bobby, it was fun to catch up, brother, and
yes, man.
good day, I think, overall for the good guys, right? The small D Democrats and the big D Democrats had a good night last night. So enjoy it. I do not think this is not the time to rest on one's laurels. If you're part of this the political landscape, please keep doing what you're doing and get ready for the midterms because that's the big one. We got a year to take back the house and save our democracy. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everyone.